The golden light of a fading Sunday afternoon spills across the kitchen table, catching the dust motes dancing in the air. It is a quiet, sacred kind of light, the kind that makes everything feel soft and still. My hands move on autopilot, wiping the already clean countertop, arranging the sugar bowl just so beside my favorite ceramic mug. A little ritual before the main event. In exactly 7 minutes, the phone will ring. It always does. 7 o'clock sharp, Sunday evening, like clockwork for the past 5 years, ever since Marcus moved across the country. I allow myself a small, private smile, the kind that starts deep inside and warms you all the way through. I glance around my small, tidy home. It is too quiet for most of the week, but on Sundays it feels expectant, full of potential. This house holds so many echoes. In the silence, I can still hear the thunder of little feet running down the hallway, the explosive laughter of a teenage boy and his friends playing video games in the living room, the gentle strum of a guitar as Marcus practiced for hours, determined to get a chord just right. A memory surfaces, sharp and clear as yesterday. He could not have been more than 10 years old. We were in this very kitchen, but it was darker then, the linoleum was cracked, and the faucet had a persistent drip I could never quite fix. It was late. I had just gotten home from my second shift, the smell of stale coffee and French fries clinging to my uniform. I was so tired my bones ached. But there he was, my Marcus, sitting at the table with his school books spread out, pretending he had not been waiting up for me. "You are supposed to be asleep, young man," I had scolded, but my heart was not in it. He had just looked at me with those big, serious eyes. "I made you a sandwich, Mama, in case you were hungry." And there it was, a slightly smushed peanut butter and jelly sandwich on a plate next to a glass of milk. He had used the good jelly, the kind we saved for special occasions. That was the moment I knew, truly knew, that all the double shifts, all the worries about bills, all the nights I cried myself to sleep from sheer exhaustion, it was all worth it. He was worth every single sacrifice. He always was. The flashbacks come in a wave now, unbidden. Teaching him to drive in that old, rattling sedan, my knuckles white on the dashboard as he jerked us down the road. Sitting in the front row at his high school graduation, my chest so tight with pride I could barely breathe. The day he told me he was marrying Chloe, the mixture of joy and a mother's quiet, selfish fear of losing her boy. But I did not lose him. Our bond just stretched, became something different, something that could span a continent every Sunday at 7. The digital clock on the stove flips to 6:59. I settle into my chair, the one with the best view of the bird feeder outside the window. I smooth my shirt, a silly, nervous habit. My heart gives a little thrum of anticipation. The phone sits on the table, black and silent. I count the seconds in my head. At precisely 7:00, it rings. The familiar, shrill sound is a starter's pistol for my happiness. I let it ring twice, a silly game I play to not seem too eager, before I pick it up. "Marcus," I say, my voice already smiling. There is a beat of silence on the other end, just a fraction of a second too long. Then, his voice. "Hey, Mom." It is flat, distant. The usual warmth, the energy that I can feel even from 2,000 miles away, is gone. It is like hearing an echo of my son, not the man himself. "Is everything all right?" I ask immediately, my maternal radar pinging. "You do not sound like yourself." "I am fine, just a long day." His words are rushed, clipped. "How are you?" I try to ignore the cold knot forming in my stomach. "I am well. The garden is finally coming to life. The roses you helped me plant last visit are budding. I wish you could see them." I am talking too fast, trying to fill the silence between us with something familiar, something good. "That is great, Mom." The response is automatic, hollow. I can hear other sounds in the background, the faint murmur of a television, a cabinet closing, the normal sounds of his home, his life, but they feel intrusive tonight. "Did you and Chloe try that new Italian place you were talking about last week?" I press, desperate to find a thread of our normal conversation, to pull him back to me. Another pause, this one is heavier. I can almost hear him breathing, a soft, shaky exhale. "Mom," he begins, and his voice cracks on the single syllable. It is a sound of pure anguish. My grip tightens on the receiver. "Marcus, what is it? Talk to me." The fear is real now, cold and sharp in my veins. I hear a muffled exchange then, his hand covering the mouthpiece. I cannot make out the words, but the tone is tense. an argument whispered in harsh tones, then a rustling as the phone is handed over. A new voice comes on the line. Chloe. It is cool, composed, and utterly devoid of the easy warmth she usually reserves for me. Sharon, she says. Her use of my first name, something she has never done without a mom attached to it, feels like a door being shut. Chloe, what is going on? Is Marcus okay? Marcus is fine, she says, and the words are so deliberately calm they feel like a threat. But he cannot do this anymore. The world narrows to the sound of her voice and the feeling of the hard plastic in my hand. The kitchen, the fading light, the smell of my tea, it all recedes into a blur. Cannot do what? I whisper, though some deep, primal part of me already knows. These calls, the constant involvement. She says the word like it is something dirty. It is not healthy. It is time for Marcus to focus on his own family now, on our life here, without interruptions. Each word is a small, precise stab. I cannot breathe. This cannot be happening. This is the woman who told me last Christmas she was so grateful to have a mother-in-law like me, who sends me pictures of their dog every week. I do not understand, I managed to say, my voice trembling. What are you saying? I am saying that this, she pauses, and I can hear her draw a breath, steeling herself. This chapter is over. It is for the best. Please do not call here again. The silence that follows is absolute. It is not just an absence of sound, it is a void. I can think of nothing to say. No plea, no question, no angry retort. My mind is a blank, white slate. Then the final sound, a soft, definitive click. A dial tone buzzes in my ear, a harsh, mechanical sound that screams of finality. I sit there, the receiver pressed against my ear, listening to that awful hum. I do not move. I cannot move. The light in the kitchen has faded completely now, leaving the room in deep shadow. The house is not just quiet, it is empty in a way it has never been empty before. The echoes I cherished just minutes ago have been silenced, replaced by this new, terrifying silence. The dial tone drones on, a mockery of the connection it just severed. I lower the phone slowly, staring at it as if it were a foreign object, a weapon that has just been used against me. He did not even say goodbye. The thought is a quiet, devastating blow. He did not say goodbye. And in the crushing silence of my empty home, I realize I do not know if I will ever hear his voice again. The rain had not stopped for 3 days. It felt biblical, as if the heavens were weeping for the life my son had lost, the life I had lost watching him slip away. The cozy familiarity of my own living room, once a place of comfort, now felt like a cage lined with memories. Every photograph on the mantelpiece was a lie. There was Marcus at 10, grinning with a missing tooth, his small hand trust in mine at the county fair. There he was at graduation, his eyes bright with a future that belonged to him. And now that future was a locked room, and I did not have the key. I could not breathe in the silence anymore. The weight of Chloe's cold, dismissive smile, the chilling finality of my son's hollow gaze, it was crushing me. I did not call ahead. I simply drove through the dreary afternoon to my sister Carol's house, the windshield wipers beating a frantic, syncopated rhythm against the downpour, a perfect mirror for my frantic heart. Carol took one look at my face, drenched and despairing, and pulled me inside without a word. She sat me at her kitchen table, the same table where we had shared 1,000 cups of tea and solved 1,000 smaller problems, and pressed a warm mug into my hands. "Tell me," she said, her voice a low, steady anchor in my storm. The story tumbled out of me in a ragged torrent. I told her about the canceled birthdays, the unanswered calls, the way my name seemed to be a poison on his lips. I described the dinner, the subtle cruelty, the calculated isolation. "It is like he is gone, Carol. The boy I raised is gone, and in his place is this puppet, and she is pulling every string." Carol listened, her intelligent eyes narrowing. She has always been the pragmatic one, the one who looks before she leaps. Where I am all heart, she is all head. "Sharon," she said slowly, choosing her words with care. "This is terrible. I do not like what you are describing, not one bit, but you must be careful. If she is as manipulative as you say, charging in like a mother bear could backfire. It could give her more ammunition to turn him against you." "What else am I supposed to do?" I cried, the frustration boiling over. "Wait for an invitation that is never going to come, watch from a distance as she erases me completely." "I am not saying do nothing," Carol said, reaching across the table to hold my hand. Her grip was firm, reassuring. I am saying be smart. You need more than a feeling, Sharon. You need to understand what you are walking into. If she is isolating him, there will be a pattern. Look for it. She was right. The raw, screaming grief needed to be channeled into action. For the next week, I became a detective in my own tragic life. I reached out to people I had not spoken to in years, my inquiries careful, masked as simple motherly concern. I called Brendan, Marcus's best friend from college, the one he had been a groomsman for just 2 years ago. Mrs. B, Brendan's voice was filled with genuine surprise. Wow, it is good to hear from you. How is Marcus? We have been trying to get him to come out for guys' night for months. He always says he is busy with Chloe. My heart clenched. He does. What about his old colleagues from the advertising firm? I know he was close with Sarah and Tom. He cut ties with everyone from there, too, Brendan said, his tone turning somber. After he left to start that freelance business with Chloe, it was like he dropped off the planet. We just figured, well, new wife, new life. But it is weird, is it not? It was more than weird. It was a pattern, a meticulously crafted blueprint for alienation. Colleagues, friends, even his weekly basketball game with the guys from the gym, all severed, one by one. Chloe was not just his wife, she was his warden, and she was systematically dismantling the world that existed before her. The evidence was a cold stone in my gut. I could not wait any longer. Carol's caution was wise, but it was a luxury I could no longer afford. On a Tuesday morning, I drove to their modern townhouse, a sleek, sterile box that held my son prisoner. I did not call. I needed to see the reality, not the performance they might prepare for me. I rang the bell, my breath caught in my throat. The door opened, and there he was, Marcus. But it was a version of him I did not recognize. He was pale, thinner, still in his pajama pants, though it was nearly noon. His eyes, which had once danced with intelligence and humor, were flat, devoid of light. He looked like a man who had not slept properly in weeks. "Mom," he mumbled, blinking in confusion. What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, a voice like polished ice cut through the hallway. "Marcus, who is it?" Chloe appeared behind him, placing a possessive hand on his shoulder. She was dressed for the day, perfectly put together in a sharp, tailored dress. The contrast between them was horrifying. She was the vibrant, in-control master, and he was her listless charge. Her eyes locked onto mine, and for a fleeting second, I saw a flash of pure, unfiltered annoyance before her public mask of pleasant neutrality slid back into place. "Sharon, this is a surprise. We were not expecting you." "I was in the neighborhood," I lied, my voice trembling. I looked past her at my son. "Marcus, you do not look well. Are you feeling all right?" He opened his mouth, but Chloe answered for him. "He is fine, just a late night working on a project. Is not that right, honey?" She squeezed his shoulder, a gesture that looked affectionate but carried the weight of a command. Marcus nodded slowly, his eyes dropping to the floor. "Yes, a late night." I could not take it anymore. The charade, the control, the sight of my brilliant son reduced to this shell. "I need to speak with my son," I said, my voice gaining a strength I did not know I still possessed. "Alone." Chloe's smile was a thin, cruel line. "I do not think that is necessary. We do not have secrets in this house, do we, Marcus? Whatever you have to say, you can say to both of us." The tension in the air was so thick I could taste it, metallic and sharp. This was it, the moment of confrontation I had both dreaded and craved. "Very well," I said, stepping inside without an invitation. I turned to face her, my own pain and fury finally breaking through the dam of my politeness. "I want to know what is going on here, Chloe. I want to know why you have cut my son off from everyone who ever loved him. I want to know why he looks like a ghost." Chloe did not flinch. She simply looked at me, a predator assessing its prey. The pleasant mask dissolved completely, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. "You want to know why?" she said, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "I will tell you why. It is because I am protecting him from you." "From me?" I choked out, incredulous. "I am his mother, I love him." "Do you?" she asked, tilting her head. "Or is your love conditional on him never knowing the truth you have been hiding from him his entire life?" The world tilted on its axis. The floor beneath my feet felt unstable. How could she know? No one knew. Only Carol. The secret I had buried so deep, the one I had sworn to take to my grave to protect my boy from the pain of it. I do not know what you are talking about, I stammered, but the blood had drained from my face, and my terror was a confession in itself. Oh, I think you do, Chloe purred, taking a step closer. I know about the adoption, Sharon. I know that Marcus is not your biological son. Marcus made a small, strangled sound. He was staring at me, his confusion deepening into something far more terrifying, dawning horror. Chloe continued, her words deliberate, each one a precise stab. I know his real mother was your cousin, a teenage girl who died, and you swooped in and took the baby. You built your entire life, your entire identity as his mother on a lie, and you never had the courage to tell him. I felt the room spin. I looked at Marcus, my son, my heart, and I saw the foundation of his world cracking apart in his eyes. The love I had poured into him for 30 years was being reframed, twisted into something deceitful and selfish. My love for him is not a lie, I whispered, but the words sounded weak, pathetic. Chloe smiled, a triumphant, ugly smile. Is it not? You lied to him every single day of his life. You stole his real history. What kind of love is that? My love is honest. I am the only one who sees him for who he is and loves him without a web of secrets. I am saving him from your fraudulent devotion. I looked at Marcus, pleading with my eyes, trying to transmit a lifetime of truth that could not be articulated in this nightmare. But he was not looking at me anymore. He was staring at Chloe, his expression a devastating mixture of betrayal and a desperate, frightening need for her to be the one telling him the truth. He was looking to his jailer for salvation. And in that moment, I knew I had already lost. The silence that fell after the revelation was not peaceful. It was a physical weight, heavy and cold, pressing down on every room of the house I had always called home. The air itself felt different, thick with things unsaid. I could not look at her. Sharon. The name felt foreign and sharp in my mind, a weapon against the word Mom that I had to consciously stop from forming on my lips. Every time I saw her out of the corner of my eye, a fresh wave of betrayal would wash over me, so intense it was nauseating. She had looked at me every day of my life with a secret behind her eyes. The bedtime stories, the bandaged knees, the proud tears at my graduation, were they all part of the lie? Did they mean anything at all? I moved through the house like a ghost, speaking only when necessary, my words clipped and cold. I ate meals at odd hours to avoid the dreaded silence of the dinner table. Sharon tried at first. She would leave my favorite snacks on the counter, or ask, her voice trembling with a fragile hope if I wanted to watch a movie. My responses were a wall of granite, a grunt, a shake of the head. I saw the pain in her eyes, a deep, grieving pain, and a twisted part of me was glad she was hurting too. She was losing me, and she knew it. But she had already lost me once, had she not? The thought was a bitter poison. She had lost me before she even had me. My father, David, became a silent ferryman between two hostile shores. He would pat my shoulder, a gesture that felt awkward now, and murmur, "Give it time, son. She loves you. We both do." But the word son now had a question mark attached to it. I would retreat to my room, the same room she had painted blue, because 10-year-old me insisted it was the color of adventure, and I would drown in the noise of my own thoughts. Chloe's words echoed there, a tempting, slick voice promising clarity and a real family. She texted constantly, "You deserve the truth, Marcus. Your real mother wants to know you." Each message was a hook, tugging me toward a different kind of ruin. The lowest point came a week into the great silence. I was in the kitchen getting water late at night. She must have heard me. She appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a robe, her face pale and etched with a sorrow so profound it almost broke my resolve. "Marcus," she whispered, and the sound was raw, stripped bare. "Please, talk to me. I cannot bear this." I stared at the floor, at the familiar pattern of the tiles she had chosen years ago. "What is there to say?" I said, my voice flat. "That everything I thought was real is not? That my whole life is built on a secret you kept?" She flinched as if I had struck her. "It was not like that," she pleaded. "I wanted to protect you." "You protected yourself," I shot back, finally looking at her, and the anger in my eyes made her take a step back. I walked away, leaving her standing there in the dim light, and the chasm between us seemed to grow wider and darker than ever. The invitation to Aunt Carol's annual family reunion arrived like a verdict. I had no intention of going. The idea of making small talk with cousins and aunts, of pretending our family was not shattered, felt impossible. But Dad was insistent. "Carol is expecting us," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "It is one afternoon, Marcus, for me." So I went, a storm contained in a clean shirt, sitting in the passenger seat of the car while Sharon stared out her window the entire drive. Carol's house was a bubble of forced normalcy. The smell of grilled burgers and the shrieks of playing children grated on my nerves. I avoided everyone, finding a secluded spot on the porch steps. I could see Sharon across the lawn, holding a plate of food she was not eating, smiling a brittle smile at a relative. She looked hollowed out. And in that moment, the anger in me shifted, making room for a confusing pang of something else. Pity? No, it was more complicated than that. It was Aunt Carol who orchestrated the inevitable. She was a force of nature, our family's general, and she marched over to me with a determined glint in her eye. "Marcus," she said, not unkindly, "your mother is sitting under the old oak tree. She needs to talk to you, and you need to listen." It was not a suggestion. I wanted to refuse, to walk away, but my feet felt leaden. I looked at the massive oak in the backyard, its branches a canopy over decades of family memories, and I knew this was the battlefield Carol had chosen. I walked slowly, each step heavy with reluctance. She was sitting on the wooden bench that circled the trunk, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I sat as far from her as the bench would allow. The silence between us was louder than the party noises drifting from the front yard. She spoke first, her voice so soft I had to strain to hear it. "I am so sorry, Marcus." The words hung in the air. "I am sorry for the lie, but I am not sorry for the life we had." She took a shaky breath. "When your father and I learned we could not have children, it felt like a death of a future we had dreamed of every day. Then we heard about you, a beautiful baby boy whose mother was too young and too scared to raise him." She looked at me then, her eyes swimming with tears. Chloe was not the villain you might think. She was a child herself, confused and frightened. She made a choice, an incredibly difficult one, to give you a life she felt she could not provide. She chose us. I stared at the gnarled roots of the tree, unable to speak. "My fear began the moment we brought you home," she continued, the words pouring out now, a confession held back for too long. "It was a consuming, paralyzing fear that she would change her mind, that she would come back and take you away from me. The legal papers said you were ours, but my heart never believed it was safe, so I buried the truth. I buried it so deep I almost convinced myself. I thought if you never knew, you could never be taken. It was selfish. It was wrong. But it came from a place of love, a profound, desperate love for you, my son." The word son landed differently this time. It did not feel like a lie. It felt like a plea. My own walls began to crack, and the confusion I had bottled up for weeks spilled out. "But who am I?" My voice broke. "I look in the mirror and I do not know who is looking back. My entire identity feels like a costume. I feel confused, lost." I finally turned to face her, and the raw pain on her face mirrored my own. "And yet," I whispered, the realization hitting me as I said it, "when I look at you, I feel a connection that is deeper than blood. It is in my bones. It is in every memory I have. How can that not be real?" It was her turn to be silent, tears streaming freely down her face now. "It is real," I said, more to myself than to her. "The scraped knees you kissed, the homework you helped me with, the way you cheered louder than anyone at my games, that is my reality. That is my mother." The word was out, tentative and fragile, but it was out. The drive home was different. The silence was no longer hostile, it was contemplative, a space for the new truth to settle. That night I picked up my phone. I did not call Chloe. I opened a text message and I typed with a clarity that felt empowering. "Chloe," I wrote, "I know you are my biological mother and I acknowledge that connection, but Sharon is my mother. She raised me. I need space to process this. I cannot have you in my life right now. Please do not contact me." I hit send before I could second-guess it. It was a boundary, firm and clear. I was choosing the messy, complicated, authentic love that had shaped me over the promise of a controlled life built on a biological technicality. The rebuilding did not happen overnight. It was slow, like learning a new language. We started having dinners again, and the silence at the table was gradually filled with careful, honest conversations. We talked about my childhood, about her fears, about my anger. It was painful, but it was real. The foundation of our relationship was no longer the smooth, untested concrete of a secret, but the stronger, more durable material of brutal honesty and forgiveness. One evening, a few weeks later, I was helping her dry the dishes. Our hands brushed as I passed her a plate, and she hesitated, then placed her wet hand over mine. "I love you, Marcus," she said, her voice steady and sure. "I always have. I always will." I looked at our joined hands, at the woman who had chosen me every day for 22 years, and I felt the last piece of my shattered heart click back into place. "I know, Mom," I said, and I meant it. As I walked upstairs to my room, a profound sense of peace settled over me. The war was over. But just as I reached my door, my phone buzzed on the bedside table. A single, cold line of text glowed on the screen, a ghost from the life I had chosen to leave behind. It was from Chloe. "I understand your need for space, Marcus, but a mother's love does not give up that easily. We will talk soon." The peace I had felt moments before evaporated, replaced by a cold dread. The battle was won, but I knew, with a sinking certainty, that the war for my life was far from over.